Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special visitor today, currently leading in the polls over in Newark for the run for mayor. We have Ras Baraka. Can I call you Ras, man?
Yeah, you can do that.
Ras. That's that. When I heard him say in the commercial, we run a commercial here on High 97, and it said Ras Baraka. I was like, Ras. It's Ras. Ras Tafari Baraka. Prince, that's right. Currently leading significantly in the polls for mayor for the city of Newark right now.
That's a good thing.
How is that for you? You're going up against somebody, Jeffries. What's his first name?
Shavar. Yeah.
Shavar Jeffries. You guys are colleagues prior to this battle that you have for the city of mayor? You know each other?
Well, I know him because of this political race.
But not before that.
Well, yeah, he was on the school board, in Newark at the time that I was a principal in the city. So we have crossed paths a few times.
So do you believe that, your connection to the community there is a more valuable thing as you run for mayor? I mean, obviously you do, than him being over the Board of Education and kind of overseeing the business of education when he was working. Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, he was on the board for 3 years. I was an educator in the city of Newark for 22 years. So I started off as a teacher at 21 years old and teaching middle school at Warren Street School. At the same time, I ran for mayor at 24 years old while I was a teacher against then Sharp James. So I've been running for office for a long time. I ran actually for 16 years before I actually won a position. I was the deputy mayor under Sharp as well for $1. I did that, but Sharp made me the deputy mayor. And I had a wealth of experience because of that, and in that time we did a whole lot of things around gang intervention and violence prevention in the city. So I learned quite a deal working as the deputy mayor in the city as well. And I still was an administrator in Newark Public Schools at the same time.
People take a lot of shots at Sharp James, though. Talk about corruption and politics and things like that. Speak on that for a while. Like, what did I know? Obviously, you're not going to sit here and say that he was a corrupt mayor. He used to work for the man.
Well, whether I work for him or not, I don't think that the court or the judge has proved any corruption at all. I mean, if you go back and look at that case, you can see there's some strange stuff that went on there. But absolutely, Sharp stayed as mayor almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very long time. And I think that a lot of people wanted something new, wanted something different. But Sharp was responsible for New Jersey Performing Arts Center, responsible for the arena, responsible for all the scattered site housing that's going on in the city of Newark, Home Depot movies. So I think that he
brought
serious business to the city of Newark, moved it from a place of almost nothing to moving it to somewhere where people couldn't imagine it ever being.
Do you give Cory Booker any credit for any of the businesses that he's attracted or hotels and things that he brought in? Because his run was pretty good. I mean, I hear some negativity on Cory Booker, but...
No, Cory, shined the light on Newark. All eyes on us right now because of Cory Booker. He brought in a lot of big business, a lot of philanthropy in the city of Newark because of his profile, his name, him traveling around, being on all these talk shows, brought a lot of notoriety to the town. And it had good implications and some negative undertones as well. But in the end, it kind of livened the downtown area up in the city of Newark. I think it exploded, and we're going to have an incredible nightlife in the city of Newark in the next 2 or 3 years.
So talk to me now. It could be your turn. You're going up against this Jeffries guy. You have like a 40-point or some crazy lead.
Not 40 point. I wish it was 40 points.
What is it? What's the lead you have in the polls right now?
Well, I think it's about 20.
20 points.
Yeah, about 20 points.
But that's significant. That's real. That's not like a 4.3 point statistical tie. This is a real lead that you have.
Right, absolutely.
So I keep bringing up business because I believe in, and while it is to the detriment sometimes of the lower income families and people who haven't and who can't keep up, sometimes to bring a city back to life, you need to get that business in there because it brings in the tax dollars. Those tax dollars go to schools and improving resources and job creation and blah, blah, blah. But you hear a lot of people who push back, like in Brooklyn or Harlem, who push back like it's changing too much, gentrification, whitey's moving in, blah, blah, blah. And I think the sad story in all of those headlines is always, why do white people need to move in for things to appear that that they're improving. But in your mind, Newark now needs to be improved. And how are you going to do it?
Well, Newark definitely needs to be improved. And I think the questions you're saying, people are afraid of gentrification and the fact that they want to enjoy the good times when they were there when bullets were whizzing over their head.
That's not good times.
Right. They want to enjoy the times after that. Like, so if they were there when the times were bad, that when times flip and they begin to transform, they want to take part in the transformation. They don't want to have to be there only when things are negative, when jobs are coming, when businesses are booming. They want to be able to enjoy that at the same time.
How do you balance that? Because a lot of times when the property value goes up, it prices low income out and they get pushed farther out.
Well, you got to keep that in mind. You got to have inclusionary zone ordinances that call for low income housing in specific areas. You have to make sure that there's some form of rent control. Make sure that you are making sure that young people and people in the city have opportunities for housing and for jobs and for community development at the same time that there's a kind of business development that's going on in the city at the same time. So you have to work out small businesses, help small business expand, invest in small business, incubate small businesses so that they could grow simultaneously while big businesses coming into the city. So you don't want big business to come in and wipe small businesses out. You want to be able to support them and help them grow and expand and make sure that they have the resources that they need so they can stay and not be overcome by these huge corporations.
So is that a part of your plan?
Absolutely.
I read some of your plan in there. You definitely talked about business in there, but why should our votes be going to you if you live in Newark?
Well, yeah, the small business, we did talk about small business development, small business assessment team. We talked about all of these things to make sure that we're not just developing downtown, because we want downtown to develop, but we also want to develop the neighborhoods, right? So we want to be able to create business in the communities where people live at, put people in homes, give people opportunities to own their own business, create jobs in the city. And I think that's the number one thing that we've been talking about from the beginning of this race. How do we create jobs? How do we expand jobs? Though the number one thing people are talking about in Newark is crime.
It's an issue
and violence, and I think that is very important that we begin to put police on the street, do the different things that's necessary. But ultimately, at the base of that is
jobs.
Unemployment and poverty,
yes.
right? So we have to create an enormous amount of jobs.
You know how you stop violence?
That's right.
Give people a job.
That's it.
Now, on the other side of that, though, people got to want to work.
Yeah,
you're gonna you got to go to school. You gotta show up every day. You got to put in work. It's not gonna be an easy. Things don't get fixed by you just waking up and complaining every day.
Oh, absolutely not. And I believe the majority of the people in the town, and I believe the majority of people anywhere, working people, they want to work. They want to get a job. They want a job that's with dignity, though. They want a decent wage, a living wage, where they can take care of themselves and their family at the same time. Get a skill that's necessary that they can market out in the business community, and even develop their own job by creating entrepreneurship and business for themselves. We need to be focused on that. Cities that have overcome the recession have focused inward, had looked at things that they do best, the clusters of industry that they have, invested in that, expand their college base, make sure that there are more students in their community that are going to school.
Now, let me stop you right there. Talk more about that. You said refocused on industries that are already kind of localized in Newark. What would those industries be that you would focus on?
Well, we have a huge manufacturing base in the city of Newark. We have 400 small manufacturers that we need to begin to focus on, give them technical expertise, research and development, help them expand, begin to do trade overseas, mainland United States. We have the third largest seaport in the nation. We need to begin to use that to grow small business in the city. The other one is the college community. We have a wealth of universities that are clustered in our city that we have to help them expand and grow, create retail and housing for graduate students, professional students, professors, and grow the retail so we can have a real college town in the city of Newark. I mean, that's very important for us. And we have a medical cluster as well of healthcare professions that are growing and expanding in the city, and we have to invest in that, get doctors and primary care physicians to live in the city of Newark, get them to open up clinics, put people to work. I mean, these are the clusters that we have in our city that we need to focus on. And I think we have a huge technological kind of infrastructure that's going to continue to grow and grow and grow in the city. So we don't just have to go around the world and in the country and kind of entice people to come to Newark. We need to focus on what we do best, invest in that, and watch it grow.
I like that. I like how that sounds. I searched for some negative on you before this conversation. I couldn't find a lot.
Oh, there's some.
Like what? Give me a headline. What's the most negative that you hear about yourself?
Well, the relationship. I wrote a letter for ex-gang member. Well, it was a gang member in jail now, and he's doing like 20 years. I wrote a letter for him while he was in jail to the judge, basically telling the judge that he helped participate in the gang truce that we organized in the city of Newark, and he's been working to try to change his life, and maybe you should, consider that when you're giving him his final kind of thing. And so as a result of that, it was on the front page of the Star-Ledger. My opponents are using that, saying I'm soft on crime, all these things. But the interesting thing is the Fraternal Order of Police in Newark endorsed me and not the other candidate, even though they are going heavy with this I'm soft on crime, I negotiate with gang members, all this kind of mentality. Because in 2004, we organized a gang truce in the city of Newark when I was the deputy mayor. We put 250 gang members in the basement of the Housing Authority building and basically got them to say that they would stop the violence in the city. It was a movement that lasted maybe less than a year because we didn't really have the resources and the support that we needed from the entire city.
When you organize a gang truce and you get them to stop being violent for a period of time, what other resources would you have needed to continue that? Is it just jobs? Is it education? Is it opportunity?
Right, so that's part of it, right? So you need jobs, you need education, right? But some of these guys need, treatment, right? So some of them need therapy, they need counseling, they need family planning, they need housing. I mean, there's a myriad of issues that folks are involved in and never get really talked about that steer people into that direction in the first place. People coming home from jail, from prison, they need re-entry, soft skills.
And to jump in on that, we talk about this sometimes, is the post-traumatic stress disorder of growing up in bad neighborhoods, growing up around crime, growing up around hearing police sirens ad nauseum while you sleep and gunshots outside. That causes trauma to young people. And so you see these young people start acting out later on in life, joining gangs, being violent themselves, but nobody ever treats the actual damage that they have.
It's a public health issue. And the ill thing is that it's not post, right? So post mean is over.
Yeah, true.
Right? So you're going through it continuously, right? And so it needs to be studied. How do you grow up in an environment that's hyper violent and learn and grow at the same time? It's difficult. There's studies on it. I mean, we know that kids that grow up in households where violence is predominant are more likely to be victims or perpetrators of violence themselves. So these kind of things need to be treated. So when we get 250 guys in the room and they agree we want to go into a different path, then we have to have the apparatus, the structure available to say we're going to work on getting these kids jobs here. These guys need skills. These few over here need to be able to go to counseling. They need family therapy. This one needs housing. All of those kinds of things to reintegrate them into the society.
So what you're saying right now, for a lot of people who don't know about that life of being around the hood or even in that environment, could come off like you're soft on crime, but that's not the case.
No, not at all.
You're actually, what it sounds like is you're aware of the issues and why crime happens.
Absolutely. I think that it's we've been saying violence is a public health issue, right? The CDC has declared it that, National Institute of Health, the City Council in Newark, also that, saying that, the violence not only affects the public health, it is cyclical, like it goes on, it travels, it moves from place to place like a disease would. And we begin to treat violence as a disease, to deal with treatment, to deal with intervention, to deal with prevention. And it's a three kind of level approach that you deal with. The same way you deal with HIV, that you deal with polio, that you deal with those kinds of things, that we have to treat it that way. It doesn't mean that we don't have police. Police are part of an overall holistic plan for treatment, right? So people who do violence are going to be arrested.
That's right. You're a criminal.
Right. If you get caught with a gun, you're going to jail, right? At the end of the day, if you murder somebody or do whatever, you're going to go to jail. The question is, how do we prevent other people from doing what you did? And how, if you get to come home, how do we stop you from going back to what you did previously so we don't have this kind of cyclical violence that takes place in our community?
Now, do you believe that people don't, I sometimes believe, but I'm a conspiracy theorist, I could be a little crazy, that they want this cyclical issue because there's money made on, whether you believe it or not, gun violence and the prison industrial complex.
Well, there's a whole industry in prison and violence. In America. America locks up more people per capita than any place in the world, right?
Because it's an industry. Somebody's getting paid.
Right, and now the whole push towards privatization, you begin to see that. I mean, there's books out now that talks about the new Jim Crow, for example, that talks heavily about prison and the segregation between those who go to prison, between race and poverty, and those who are not in prison, and an industry that's being created because of incarceration.
That's right.
So we need to begin to stop that and begin to get our folks and people in these communities to become more industrious, to get them involved in jobs, to pay them living wages, to give them the skills that they need, to stop this kind of pattern of violence and crime that goes on and on. Because if we lock 50, 60 people up a day, there's more where they came from. As long as the conditions exist that are producing these folks, once you lock them up, there'll be more to lock up after that, and more to lock up after that, and more to lock up after that.
Y'all call him Ras Baraka in the commercial. I call him Ras, because his father was a community activist, civil rights movement, heavy. How do you pronounce his first name?
Amiri
Baraka. That's right. And he was also a writer.
Absolutely.
Poet, even. Yeah.
Poet, playwright, essayist.
How's he doing these days?
My father passed away.
He passed away.
Yep,
Yeah, that's right. What?
January.
Yeah, that's right.
January 9th.
How's the family holding up?
We're doing all right, man. You know, day by day. It was difficult to bury my father and continue this campaign at the same time. But, you know, this is something he wanted as well. You know, in the hospital, he was, telling the doctors and everybody and the nurses, my son running for mayor.
Yeah. Now, I guess I feel it in my heart while I'm talking to you. I wish he could have been here to see this, because I think that this might be your win. This might be your victory. Do you believe that the polls is going to hold in your favor?
Absolutely. I think that we have created a serious momentum in the city. We building a movement. You know, we say when I become mayor, we become mayor.
Now, Jeffries hasn't reached out. A young lady reached out to me. Shout to my homegirl Precious. She reached out to me and asked me to come to one of his fundraisers.
Right.
But I was like, I don't really know much about him to just be showing up to a fundraiser for a mayor like that. I don't just pop up at everybody's spot, stand next to you just because, you having a nice little party. I'd appreciate to have him up here. That way we could hear from him as well.
Yeah.
What do you have to say for the people out there that may not be voting for Ras Baraka and feel like Jeffries is the stronger candidate? What are we missing here?
Well, I think that he has no experience in municipal government at all, right? So he came to Newark. Even Cory Booker, when he came to the city of Newark, from outside of the city, understood that he should at least run for council. Like, I ran for mayor when I was 24 years old with no experience as a young kid against Sharp James, and I realized that I needed to get more involved in the community. I need to participate in what was going on in the neighborhoods. I need to run for council, and those are the things that I did. I don't think he did any of those things. I mean, his name recognition is low because he hasn't been in the community like he should. He's been working in the state level and around the country doing some other kinds of things and been a law professor. But at the end of the day, my imprint in the community is long because of the work that we've done in the city of Newark over and over and over again.
What about your political relationships, your business relationships? You feel like you have stronger ones than he does?
Absolutely. We have in business council meetings now. Like, so we bringing businesses together presently to talk about the future of Newark, to talk about the development of the waterfront, the downtown business district, the expansion of the college community, neighborhood development, workforce investment. These are the things that we're talking about now. So they try to paint this picture that the business community doesn't respond to me, but that's completely incorrect, right? So we dealing with the business community now. We started the first special improvement district in the South Ward, where I live at, in Clinton Hill in the Weequahic section, that has ever been, and that is because of the business community, right? So these are things that are happening now. Like, they create this whole idea about me being divisive because of my community activism and my politics, but at the end of the day, we have more support from all of the unions, 1199, the hospital workers, the cafeteria workers, the fraternal order of police, the laborers. All the unions have come together behind our candidacy, not because we've divided people, but because we're uniting people around issues of labor and work.
How can Hot 97 help Newark? What do you need from us?
Well, I think that Hot 97 does a good job in, making sure that people listen to the radio and listen to you guys. I think to encourage people that Newark is a positive place to be, right? To kill this brand of Brick City, that Newark is the death capital of the world.
I mean, listen, it's real out there. It's real out there.
It's real in Brooklyn too, man.
Yeah, but even cats in East New York be like, Newark, nah.
Yeah, it's some great people in the city of Newark, man.
Newark is a great town, but it does, and you recognize that it gets crazy in Newark fast.
Yo, absolutely, and we're moving away from that, right? So we trying to change the whole brand.
I'm with you, man.
Throwing the brick city.
I'm with you.
In the garbage bin of history, and we moving our city.
Listen,
forward,
I'm not one of those dudes that reminisce of the good old days when things was violent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not that dude. I believe that in itself is a psychological problem that too many of us have when we reminisce of a time of, oh man, it was real. That was when it was real. Well, it was real bad. It doesn't mean that it was realer than it is right now just because it's real nice or trying to be nicer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I appreciate your time. And when do
Thanks
people
for
go to
having
the
me,
polls out there?
May 13th, man, 2014, May 13th.
Is there any, when it comes to voting now, you got to make sure you register and you got to do this. Is it still, people can still register to vote?
Yeah, you have about 21 days until the election, the last day to be able to register to vote. So you have maybe about 10, 11 days, if that, left to get registered.
So if you're not registered and you want to be a part of the, listen, don't call up here complaining, talking about how things should be, and you don't participate. I don't really entertain that too much. But I do appreciate you taking the time to come by.
Thanks for having me.
Shout out to the brother Free Maiden who set this up.
Right.
Now we have a relationship.
True.
Senator Booker comes by, Mayor de Blasio comes by, Newark Mayor come by. So if you need to get the word out about something, you come on by. It's yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
However, now things get crazy.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that too.
Good. That's all right, man. That's all right. Yep.
All right. Ras Baraka, check him out. Vote for him if you're feeling him. Jeffries, where you at, sir? This microphone could be yours so we can hear your side of things. All right. Hot 97 Morning Show.